Hi everyone, Eileen Bayer, the fam here. Before we get started, I want to apologize for not getting a video up last week, but I got a new computer in because my other one, I couldn't do OBS or anything on it, so I was learning the OBS and how to do the green screen, which you can see behind me, and learning that takes a little bit of time when you're new to it. So this is going to be my first video using the OBS, and what I'm doing is we're going to go over what we went through because it's been a week away, and then continue on, and there'll be one more video on this series before we go to another one. So saying that, let's get this started, okay? OCD stands for obsessive-compulsive disorder, and there's a lot of things about that we're going to cover. I'm going to quickly go over what we went through in the first video, which is, but I'm going to use the term OCD because it's easier for me to say. OCD affects approximately 3.3 million people in the United States. That's a lot of people. And it's a disorder that normally begins in childhood or early adolescence. And the obsessions that cause anxiety resulting in compulsive behaviors and actions called compulsions is diagnosed by a doctor's assessment. And the patient's symptoms are like ritual behaviors and the time that they spend doing these ritual behaviors, because they're not like maybe 5 minutes, they're doing it for long periods of time. An obsession is an idea or a thought that preoccupies mind, and by this I don't mean 5 or 10 minutes. With people with OCD, we're talking about hours. That's a long time for one thought or an idea. Okay, now there's indicators and symptoms of OCD, which is what we're going to cover today. And if you look on my screen, I have 3 of them. We're going to cover these 3 plus a lot more. We're going to start with the obsessive hand-washing, okay, when we start reading. But before I do, let me go over some information that you should know. Some of the common obsessions found with people with OCD are fear of germs, where they feel they have to wash their hands often. Now, a normal person, when we go out to eat, we wash our hands before we do. Even when we're at home, we normally wash our hands before we eat. We wash our hands when we go to a store or anything and having to use a public restroom. When you're done using the restroom, you wash your hands before you leave. That's what a normal person does. But somebody with OCD, it's more of a ritual. They have to wash their hands all the time. Maybe like sometimes every 5 minutes, every time they touch something. It's sort of a germophobia. And in case you didn't know, germophobia is part of OCD, where some people just can't be touched because they're afraid of germs. If you touch their bare skin or whatever, they can't handle that. That's part of OCD. Another one we're going to go over is repeating requests. A lot of OCD people will repeat requests to you even if you answered until they get the answer they feel they need to hear. Because they constantly need that reassurance, and they have no control over these 2 items right here. Have no control whatsoever. Another one they do is obsessive tidiness. Everything on their desk and in their lives and every part of their house has to be in perfect order. Almost like a perfectionist, but a little bit worse, because a perfectionist, once they see everything's okay, they're happy, they can move on. Somebody with OCD can't. Their pencil holders could be in the exact position that they want, and then they'll go in and take all their pencils and pens out and redo this over and over again. Another issue, which I don't have on the screen, but we're going to cover it anyway, is security. People with OCD have security issues. It does not mean they're always insecure. They just have these minor security issues where if they leave their home, they'll lock their door like we do. But normally when we lock our door, that's it. We can go about and do our business because we know we locked the door. People with OCD, though, they will lock the door and then they will check and recheck to make sure it's locked. And then when they're at their destination, they'll have this overwhelming thought enter their head that their door's not locked again. Or they didn't, that they want to check to make sure it's locked. So they'll go right back home. They'll leave their party or whatever they're doing, even if it's a job, they'll leave it to make sure that their house is secure. Okay, another obsession that they have is hoarding. Some will hoard objects, others may hoard money. Most of the times, a lot of it is money. And that's also part of their insecurity. But the money and what they hoard, whether it's money or items, is because they feel this is the only thing they have control in. They control what they own, whether it's coins or bills or personal items. And that's why they hoard. The other things they don't feel they have any control in. But their money situation and their hoarding, they do. Now, this is not to say that all hoarders have OCD. Some hoarders have other type of disorders because of other mental illnesses. But most people with OCD, their hoarding normally deals with money. I'm going over some of my notes, trying to remember everything here, so bear with me for a moment. Okay, another one they have is out of control thoughts, which means their mind will be fixated on something. And this will last, and there's nothing, they don't have control over this. Their mind is just fixated on it, and it's not maybe like 15 minutes or a half hour, it's for hours, sometimes for the whole day, and they have no control over that. They have depression because they don't feel control in their lives, so a lot of people with OCD suffer from depression, because just the three that I have posted up here will make them feel, pressure. They always have that pressure on them that we don't, okay? So they do have dealing with a lot of depression. They'll have repetitive movements. It's like they call it body or motor movement. Some could be like a twitch in the eye. You'll see a lot of them blinking like this. I don't have OCD, but I want to give you an example on what I mean by motor movements. It might be something like this, where you see them blinking constantly. Another could be like a twitch in the face, or you see them shrug their shoulders a lot. Those are signs of OCD. Not everybody with OCD has that. It also affects their eating because they have this thing that it's contaminated. People with OCD, they could, maybe, I'm just going to use a thing, maybe they love lasagna at one point. That was their favorite food. They'll get to a point where they won't touch it no more because they feel that it could have gotten contaminated, so they'll stop eating it altogether and do something else. So there's a lot of different things with OCD, and it doesn't mean that any less human. It just means that if you come across somebody with OCD, please, I implore you, have patience with them, understand what they're going through, understand that they don't have a lot of control, that these things happen, bear with them. They need friends. Just because they have a disorder you don't understand, this is why I want to do these series, is so everybody can be happy. It's uplifting, inspiring, and encouraging. And I encourage you, if you have a friend or a loved one with OCD, don't hold anything against them. Understand where they're coming from. You know, because we're not perfect. We all have our flaws, whether it's physically, mentally, or in any other way. None of us on this earth are perfect. But we were made to love one another. We are all uniquely made, and everyone matters. So I ask you, if you know anybody with OCD, keep this in mind. Make sure you let them know that they matter to you, because they're not going to feel like they matter. They're going to feel alone. They're going to feel isolated. They're going to feel like nobody cares. And it's up to us to let them know, you're not alone. We do care. You do matter. Okay? There may be one more. There's not much. If somebody has OCD, those basically is what we're going to need to do. But if you see these things in somebody, check. Make sure that they're on the proper medication for it. If they're not taking their medication, encourage them to. Make them, feel like I matter. So yes, I'm going to take my medication because I know I matter to people. A lot of times people will stop taking the medications that they need because they don't feel like they matter to anybody. They feel isolated and not wanted, not loved for, not cared for. They don't think they matter. And it's up to each and every one of us to show the people in our lives that that's not true. That they're not alone, that they do matter. We do care and we love them. So remember, see with your heart, not your eyes. Because when you see with your heart, you see inward. Your eyes only see outward. But seeing truly the person there is what counts. Look deep. Don't look on the surface. Look deep into their heart. There's some people that desperately need to know that they're loved and cared for and that they matter. So remember, I care. I love you. You matter to me. You're important because we're all uniquely made. So until our next video, bye and have a great day. Mwah. Love you all.